So, I was just talking to a gentleman. I've been in Europe, in the European continent. I've been on the African continent. And I've been in Latin America. And do you know, I didn't spit once. I didn't shit or piss outdoors. Only in the waste receptor. I never littered in Latin America, in Africa, in Europe. I believe in respecting people's homes. And in turn, I want them to respect our home. I live here. So do unto others as you want done unto you. The golden rule? Well, I have a lot of people that can tell you that have been with me. I respect other people's property, other people's country, other people's society, and I want them to respect ours. So it's a two-way street. So I didn't desecrate anything of yours. I don't expect you desecrating things of mine. Michael Nedved, I'm by DePaul University, and I used to do early morning exercise. And so, believe me, what do you think getting up 0 hour? Think about this. I woke up as a child at 3 in the morning, and then I had to get into my job, and then my job was pushing a big metal cart full of papers at 6 years old. 0 hour exercise. And oh yeah, in heavy snow at times. Truly, we had lots of snowfall back then. Kids today, they don't really know that, but there were some heavy snowfalls. And pushing that big metal cart, it's kind of like Dick Buckus used to push a car up a hill. Well, I did 0 hour PE as I was a patrol boy and many things else. I had to get up and into the corner and there before anyone else, and it didn't matter what the weather was. These pansies today, they have crossing guards, and they don't have jobs, and they're fucking pieces of lazy fucks, and then they get to drive the Lexus behind me, this white trash male, and they get to live above me. But I was out there freezing my fucking ass off. Like when Elvis died, I sold papers on Cicero. And oh yeah, go back to the weather. It was chilly and wet. It was raining that day, truly misting, and it was freaking freezing. But I was out there walking back and forth and selling the papers. And so these people, from the time I was a child, at 5 years old minimum, I was out there busting my fucking ass doing 0 hour. So I believe in 0 hour. So I don't understand. So I should do all of this and bust my fucking ass and have everybody stab me in the back throughout my life, and then I should live below these people. So I don't get that. Literally, no one's done more than me. No one. And God sees it the same way. He's seen everything I've ever done. For me to live below you will be the death of you. You are not my superiors. You can't tell me what the fuck to do. Truly. But you terrorize me and get away with it, and you act like this is all okay. In what insane society would ever allow this? And this means people here have to be some of the most satanic people on the face of the earth. Because if they allow this and they know better, you gotta be pure fucking demons. But getting to my point, I was just looking this up, and the transmission of fissures, because the rectum, the skin doesn't flex well, and it's very thin, and fissures happen, and tears happen, and it bleeds, and you can get lots of infectious diseases giving rectum sex, oral or penetration. So it doesn't matter if you do it, bisexuals think they get away with it. They do it to male and female. Nope. It doesn't matter how you go about it. It's incredibly risky. And so some, like the hantavirus, and you have to know what you're dealing with, can live in feces. And so in feces, basically the feces can dry because the hantavirus is so resistant. The feces dry, and these are rodent droppings. So Chicago, I don't understand with the rodents. This is rodent droppings, and when they dry, they flake. So whether behind your walls or anything else, and when they flake, they get aerosolized, meaning they move up into the atmosphere, and if you breathe them in, they get moisture, and that reactivates the virus. Just because it's dry doesn't mean it's safe. And they need to teach people this. So a clean city is a safe city. So that cleanliness is next to godliness is actually freaking true. And getting back to my point, in Africa, Ghana, I waited and used their whatever. They had this cement thing, and you had to go over it, and it was just a cement slab, and you climb up, and then you squat down, and you go. And yes, they told us to be careful because snakes and other things, and so you have to be mindful because they move through the waste. Sometimes they come in. So yes, like in the boys where that thing comes through the toilet. Now, if you really want to know what's scary, New York City, go pull the articles from the 1970s. Super rats. Because the water is not flowing in the pipes, meaning, so the rats moved up the pipes, and then they just have to go around the curve, and rats are like mice. They have a flexible skeleton like fish. It's really kind of flexible. And they would move through that last little bit and end up coming out the toilet. So what do? It's a one-way release. You can't come in, so you have a valve that closes, and water flows out, but it doesn't stay open. What happened was, go grab the articles, that they would just come into people's houses and you'd be on the 8th floor and there'd be a huge fucking rat in your bathroom, and super rats. These were like cats, the size of them. Unbelievably big. And so, you know how mice can flex? Well, so can rats. Not as much, but they do. And I read those articles, and I'm like, you could be shitting on a toilet and a rat coming up and fucking bite you right in the fucking ass. It's actually true. And so people on these high-story buildings all of a sudden had these giant rats. And rats carry rabies and many other, and rats, unlike mice and that, they can fight. And when they're big, like they were in New York, super rats, why do you think New York took care of that problem? Because when that was out in the paper and people knew about it, they fucking started taking care of their rodent problem. But people don't understand this. And you learn this stuff, like in Africa and that, dog droppings and that, you're supposed to clean up your feces. And I came out with the spray bottle that waters down urine. Truly, you're supposed to dilute it, and it can have a biological component to it that basically neutralizes urine. But I grew up with people having those little white picket fences. Remember those metal white picket fences? And they had them around their lawn that was in front of their house, and it had the sign, "Do not walk on lawn, dogs not welcome." And what happens? Anyone will tell you, all those nitrates and piss and that. This is why they have to rotate fields with cattle, because all that piss and urine burns the grass and kills it. And that's what happens with dog droppings and dog piss. It fucking kills the vegetation. And so people didn't want them pissing on trees or shitting on trees. So you don't understand this. But I did, and I had to clean up, like at my brother-in-law's when we lived on Lake Eleanor. I cleaned up so much goose shit. It's unbelievable. But I cleaned up goose shit, dog shit, you name it. And huge trash cans full. Fucking, you know, you have the big green recycling tubs. Well, think of that. I filled them up with dog shit, as an example. But I've been cleaning up after dogs since I've been Mitzi. Then we had Ralph, and then we had Toke, and many others. And I cut the grass and everything else and cleaned up. My sister did it. My brother didn't. I did. And so, for me cleaning this up, I don't get my brother John. I had to clean up after the family dogs and cut the grass, shovel the snow, and do all this shit. And it's amazing. My brother's a prima donna. And just to say how it is, so you have family relationships, because parents have to understand this shit. Truly. And you talk about fairness. And my mom spoiled him since he's been a kid. And she does everything for him, even when he came adult. She cleaned his clothes and cleaned his place when I wasn't there, and when I lived with them, I cleaned the place and all that. Did the dishes, cleaned the place. And it's interesting on how I'm stuck with doing that again. It was nice with Jen that she would share in everything. That, you know, I'm 59 and I've been doing it, and then all the workplaces I had to mop and clean the toilets and clean the dishes and everything else. And it's unbelievable. I got to do it at home. I had to do it at work. I had to. It's ridiculous. So when am I going to get my break? That I don't have to do this. And since I started as a small child, before 6 years old, cleaning, when am I to get my break? Where I go back to living with Jen and somebody that understood this and picked up that stuff, where it doesn't have to constantly be on me. So I don't understand that. But this is what, again, I put out. So I've been in Latin America, Europe, and Africa. And I've never pissed, shit, spit, thrown out any fucking trash, did anything environmentally to their country negative in any way, shape, or form. Literally, I never even farted in their countries. And that's the God's honest truth. I never had gas in any of it. I never farted as a kid. I never farted. Farting's a whole new thing for me. I farted one time in my whole relationship with Jen. I just don't regularly, hardly ever fart. And to be quite honest, I never even farted in those countries, in those continents. It's kind of the excellence protocol, but I believe in respecting. So, and as I respect, I expect to get respected. So these motherfuckers should have the fucking shit beat out of them. They need to come to fucking Jesus moment. I mean, one way or not, and you know, I was okay, but over the last 11 years, you've been beating on me relentlessly. And these motherfuckers, where are their beatings? Because if you can beat on me as God sees it, why are you spared the beating? Do unto others as you want done unto you? So where is that playing out on the people doing this to me? As I pointed out to you, since I've been a child, they stole my stuff and got away with it. They attempted to kill me and got away with it. I mean, it's been going on my whole fucking life. And they never got charged. Nothing. Like Mike Espinoza comes across the street, he slams my father's head to the sidewalk and that. But now my brother did kick his ass, but he never got arrested or charged. He beat Jimmy Covington up with a baseball bat outside my house. He never got charged or arrested. So, my whole life, I've watched these people brutalize me, and they never get charged or arrested or have to pay for their crimes. They just get grace. So I come out with all the systems to catch them, and I believe in zero grace. I believe in forced penance. That's why we have penitentiaries and everything. So I'm going to go on to another topic. My friend John, who was awesome, John Crowder, God rest his soul. Rocky knows him. We worked together at Charlie's. I hired him. He was a great bartender, and he was struggling with alcoholism. And I hired him and helped him. I helped him get the job as beverage manager at Rivas and helped him. But when I got fired from Charlie's, I lost contact with him, and then I would visit him in a couple places, but he bounced around. And you know, he used to hang around with all kinds of reggae people. He knew so many Jamaicans, it was incredible. I know Jamaicans, but he knew way more. He loved the Wild Hair and all the reggae places. He was good friends with shitloads of black people. Reggae people. But the thing is, he went dumpster diving. Now, why do you say he was doing this? Because he was... No, he went dumpster diving looking for things for artwork. And so he was looking to recycle material and create art from it. But this is why when you do this stuff, and this is why those people that, you know, how do you say, those junkers, they go and pick up trash and everything. You know, they're looking for bicycles and all that. But again, they're exposing themselves. Go get 1-800-GOT-JUNK and others, and then get training. And they should teach them on environmental PPEs, how to go into environments and, you know, properly dress and deal with, you know, picking up junk and everything else. And our trash people don't go through vocational training, and I don't know why waste management in that doesn't teach them how to handle biological and chemical contaminants, because it's biological when it's liquid in that, but it becomes chemical when it evaporates and becomes aerosol, like, you know, rat droppings in dumpster containers. When it dries, it flakes and becomes aerosolized, and now you could say it's chemical. But I don't know why they don't teach those people truly to how to deal with themselves, their environment properly, so they're, you know, they go about things collecting. We used to, and I used to, here, I'll go down my street, Drake, but go by my school. I used to clean the trash cans. Yes, I used to clean our trash cans. And who did that protect? Yes, it protected me and everything, but also it protected the trash man. My sister, she washes trash cans. All of her trash cans, she washes. She scrubs them down and washes them. And she protects the trash men. And she used to give them every so often in Deerfield and in Chicago a present every so often. Nothing minor, but in Chicago, I think she gave them a 6-pack of beer. But anyways, my sister comes from the service industry. And so, but you can say nice things to your trash men. Just give them a card and say, hey, thanks for picking up. Put it on top of the trash can. Say, for trash man, thank you and you put a card inside. No gift, just a card that says, hey, thanks for keeping our neighborhood clean. It's just recognize them. Yeah, they get paid for it and everything, but it's nice to get a pat on the shoulder every so often. Here's my old elementary school, which I would do presentations here, teach here. I would pump a lot of money into Patrick Henry. Oh, I love going to elementary school here. So I love growing up in this neighborhood. The problem was the fucking gangbangers that ended up on Montrose taking Drake Bull and so on. But the person who ran the park kept them out of here. And we used to play catch one, catch all, like with 100 kids. We had these massive games of catch one, catch all. And then in the playground, we played Johnny between the white lines, which aren't there anymore. But we used to play these games at recess, running games and that. But it was awesome. I actually have very fond memories. If you take out negativity, there was a lot of good times. I had crushes on Joelle and Pauline, and I got to hang out with them all, and they were my best friends, these two girls. And now it's a telephone thing. The bowling alley went away, but I used to play asteroids and sometimes centipedes, and it was cool. And I would go bowling, but I couldn't do that anymore because the gangs up here, it was them using knives back then. It wasn't guns, it was knives. So people don't understand, like West Side Story. Yeah, it wasn't so much the Puerto Ricans and, yes, up on Lawrence, the Asians, and that they used knives. As my brother had his friend tied to a tree and they chopped up his genitalia with a knife. So, again, but it ruined it. So I didn't go by there anymore. And it sucked. And then Axel Roller Ring's the same thing. The gangs took over there. That was Harlan Irving Plaza. Do you know, not until the gangs got there in the 1970s in Harlan Irving Plaza, I left Axel Roller Ring in the 70s, and my assistant KJ, she moved by Harlem and Irving Plaza, and not until I think it was 2014 they had to shut down the Hall Mall. They tried everything, couldn't get them out, so they shut down the whole mall and redeveloped it, and the gangs had to go away. But isn't that poor policing? They couldn't track their criminal to them? And so, think about that. 1970, say mid-70s, it was, say 75. So you got 85, 95, 2005, and basically 2015. Those gangs were in there for 40 years. 40 years! Until they shut down the mall and that to get them out. They couldn't get rid of them for 40 fucking years. So go into Harlem over and talk to the people that were there before. They'll tell you. I know for a fact they were there for 40 years. 4 decades. And they would have stayed if they didn't shut it down. So again, It suppressed everybody's property value, and it made it risky going to the mall, which sucked for small businesses. Truly, it sucked for small businesses. Because people were more timid, they didn't spend as freely. And so small businesses suffered. So you talk about small business incubation and everything. Well, it sucks. Now let's go to Mexico. And we're going to go to not Acapulco, not Cancun, but Puerto Vallarta. People didn't go into the town at Puerto Vallarta. And so what did they do? Actually, this is good by their government, and the people that had the hotels and that came together, and basically, number one, no begging. Tijuana suffered huge, and so did Puerto Vallarta, all the beggars. So they implemented no begging in Puerto Vallarta, number one. And then they implemented safety. They got rid of any types of gangs or anything else. And the community is flourishing. Beautiful beaches, small businesses flourishing, because all those people that were tourists weren't afraid to leave the resorts. What happened in Acapulco is because of all the negativity, the people stay on the resorts. And then Cancun had the hurricanes come in. There used to be not, but then all the beggars came in then that, and people stopped leaving the resorts because they're all inclusive. There's no reason for you to, So people stopped going into the town and everything because the beggars hit them. So what did they implement? They cleaned up all the beggars. People like to go out and spend their money without dealing with people begging them. So it's funny how they figured this out in Mexico, that when they got rid of the begging and they got rid of the crime, tourism spiked and the spending spiked per tourist. Because they got rid of the negativity. So I don't get it with Chicago in that they don't understand all these businesses, the CME, the CBOE, the CBOT, the Chicago Stock Exchange, Boeing, Caterpillar, John Deere, you name it, want to expand. But it's hard to recruit people into a shithole. So look at New York. They cleaned up. I used to go up there. I was up there. And then Upper Park Avenue, where you walked out, it used to be great. You in the high rise, but you walked out your front door and you could get mugged and beggars, and then PETA throwing, paint on your fur and whatever. Well, what happened? They cleaned that all up. And you could walk out your door, and then you could go down to your local restaurant and shop without worrying. And then they started cleaning up all the soot. How do I know this? This goes way back. The mayors started cleaning up. They're doing things with the trash on the street. They're getting rid of it in New York. The reason they had to do it is because of alleys. Now they're not letting them throw the bags on there, and you have to have dumpsters and other things to put it in, and that's good for the trash collectors. It's easier to pick up a dumpster and empty it in your... And so they're changing things. What about Chicago? Like I said about taking the street cleaners and going down the alleyways and cleaning up the alleys. I used to do that myself because we used to play in the alley and that, but I used to wash down and there was a sewer and I would sweep up the stuff, not sweep it down the sewer, sweep it up, put it in a trash bag, put it in the trash, and then I would, with a broom, water with the hose, spray it, and then broom it, and then wash the dirt in that into the sewer system. So, I don't understand. So, does no one love this city? Because it seems like they don't want to take care of it. And then people complain. How can you have the right to complain when you're destroying it? That's what I don't get. What right, I'm going to go by the trash and everything, what right do you have to complain if you're desecrating it? So it's like your own body. This is what God sees and you don't understand it. This is very biblical. And this is what Muslims get better, is that you can't complain to God if you're desecrating your own body, and that's what the LGBTQ don't know. The Holy Spirit doesn't reside inside of you, and without the Holy Spirit, there's no heaven. So if you desecrate your flesh, look it up biblically. It tells you the Spirit won't reside inside you. And without the Spirit, you cannot go to heaven. So if you desecrate your flesh, you're condemned. So anyone says that they're going to heaven, you're absolutely wrong, and you don't know your Bible. So the Spirit will not reside inside you. That's why it says your body is a temple. And when you desecrate the temple, the Spirit doesn't reside inside you. So you got to remember that we're the Abrahamic religions. And the Jews have a piece of information, and the Muslims have a piece of information, and the Christians have a piece of information. And to really understand the Bible, you need to understand all three Abrahamic religions, because each of them has a piece of the puzzle. You cannot just study one. I'm not saying you have to be a multi-faith. I'm strictly a Christian, but you understand that you must understand the others. And I've always told people, we read the Old Testament, you got to read the Quran. So you can't do this. You got to understand all three pieces. And that's what historians get wrong. Christian, Jewish, Muslim. I'm sorry, it works together. And so each of them had a segment. And you got to put the puzzle back together. So everybody's doing it in a vacuum, and it doesn't work that way. So you got to put the pieces together to understand the whole. And that's what I've been studying terrorists my whole life. And I watched how they lie. Because they think they understand, but they don't understand. They're doing it in a vacuum. So, no, they don't have it right. So whether it's Bin Laden or any of them, they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Neither does the imams or anything else. Neither does the priest or the rabbi, because they siloed and they don't remember that it's each have a piece of the total puzzle. And without understanding the total puzzle, you don't understand your book of the puzzle. And so you turn me down, but they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. The Pope, the Cardinals, they don't know shit. So you go listen to them. And I'm telling you, you're barking up the wrong tree. Until they start understanding and start putting the pieces together, they can give you proper spiritual guidance. But until they understand the whole, they'll never understand God. And they give you bad information. And I'm not saying intentionally, some of them, but others very intentionally. And I used to point this out with Jen, and I told her, and this is where we're going to Muslim, I told her in something I would initiate it with her, but truly understanding the Quran and going into the Muslim world and creating apologetics, it's before I met those guys. These were initiatives, but every time I start a path, I get fucking destroyed. And it takes me off of what I'm trying to accomplish. And so people are incredibly selfish. And I told you that you interrupt with my path, you destroy things, and God watches you, and you will be judged. So I'll leave this here.